you're going to give me work, not because I'm wearing a certain shirt and a certain color, but because of the conversation that I have with you. They're going to start remembering you when they run into something or somebody they know is running into something. They're going to start referring you work. Never, ever, ever allow someone else's lack of vision interfere with where you're going.
Now that is kind of a big deal.
Today's guest is licensed public adjuster and founder of Claims and Appraisers Public Adjusting, Felix Herrera. Felix is one of those people who brings a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of heart into everything he does. With nearly a decade of experience in the insurance world, he's handled everything from storm damage and fires to large commercial claims. Oh, that's interesting. After years of working on behalf of insurance companies, Felix made a move that's kind of a big deal. He started his own firm, where he now represents the public. Felix is also a proud member and ambassador for the Miramar-Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Weston Chamber of Commerce. And if you're a member, you've probably met him, and you know he's not just knowledgeable, but he's also warm and funny and very approachable. Oh, and he's a Pinnacle Award winner. So I am excited to get into this, but before we start our conversation, let's go ahead and introduce our sponsors. This episode of the Kind of a Big Deal podcast is sponsored by the Miramar-Pembroke Pines Chamber of Commerce, the Weston Florida Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber brings innovation and progress to the community by being a catalyst for business growth, a convener of leaders to implement positive change, and a champion for strong communities. DevSign Media, for all your video production needs. Let's make it happen. And K. Davis Management Consulting, simplifying management for business owners who'd rather be doing literally anything else. Go to kdcanhelp.com. So Felix, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. I'm very excited to have you because, as I said, you are warm and funny, and I know that it's going to be a great conversation with you because it always is.
Well, I am very, very happy to be here. This is my first podcast, so I'm super excited.
Is it really? I'm surprised.
As much of a talker as I am, nobody's actually asked me, hey, why don't you talk?
Oh my gosh, no. You were like one of the first people we thought of, that we thought Felix would be great for this.
I'm excited to be here.
So I want to get into your story and get into some of the advice and the things that you have experienced as a business owner, because that's what this podcast is all about, right? We're trying to let other business owners out there that are also doing something that's kind of a big deal know that they're not alone, and know that there are other people out there that have those same struggles and worries and challenges that the rest of us have.
Yes.
So, but before we do that, I want to find out a little bit more about what it is you do. So what does a public adjuster do, and how is it different from the insurance adjuster that most people usually deal with when they file a claim?
That is literally the most popular question I ever get, particularly when I'm when a storm hits, right, and I go to an area that just been devastated, and I got to go introduce myself and explain this.
Right.
It's very simple, right? So, well, first, as a homeowner, you have your homeowner's insurance, right? Something happens that causes damage to your property. I don't care if it's a storm, a leaky roof, your kitchen blew a hose and messed up your cabinets.
Right.
You call up your insurance company and I say, hey, this happened to me. They ask you some questions, and they say, okay, we're going to send a guy out there. We're going to send an adjuster. Okay. The insurance company will assign that adjuster. He's the person in charge to investigate that claim, document it, and report back to the insurance company. And I'm going to say recommend coverage. So if he or she sees that there's some kind of coverage, right, within the policy parameters, they'll write a report, they'll submit it to the insurance company, and at that point, the insurance company will do their thing and pay out what they need to pay out. That person that comes out to your home, even though he's your insurance adjuster, he's actually the insurance company. Well, he's the insurance adjuster. He's there to document and ask and see, first of all, if the insurance company is on the hook to pay you something. And if so, well, how little can we pay to get up from under this? Right? He's
got the insurance company's best interest in mind.
100%.
Right.
100%. Now, mind you, not to make it sound nefarious, we are all independently licensed by the state. You can't be an adjuster of public or insurance without getting a license.
Sure.
The state, in its infinite wisdom, made sure that, hey, listen, we have to have an independent person, excuse me, to investigate claims and recommend coverage. Because otherwise, you send an employee out there and the employee is going to say, hey, you're not covered.
Right.
But as it turns out, because of how most adjusters are paid, and because some of them are staff adjusters, which means they literally work for the insurance company, you tend to be a little bit more biased to the guy who's cutting the check for you.
Of course.
So you're coming there with a skeptic mind,
right?
And that's all good. And insurance claims, they're a business. It's your responsibility to know what your policy has. But what happens is, more often than not, like I said, you try to see if you have to pay anything, and if you have to pay something, well, how little do you have to pay in order to put this claim away?
Sure.
That's not necessarily the best place to come to start with for the homeowner.
Right.
Okay. And since the homeowner doesn't read that thick policy that you get,
who does?
Nobody does. So, I mean, I did it when I started working this.
Oh, goodness.
So you tend to not know. You just have to trust whatever they're telling you.
Sure.
And in business, the best thing to do is to make sure that have someone advocating for you. So a public adjuster is just that. An adjuster who's probably worked for the insurance company, is licensed to do everything they can, but their client is not the insurance company. Their client is the homeowner.
Right.
So when your insurance company comes out and says, hey, you're denied or underpaid, I review that and I go, well, wait a minute, policy says this, this, and that, and this is what happened on this claim, and these are the facts of this loss. I think you owe my client some money. Or there's some people who don't even want to deal with
the
filing the claim. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And not to sound self-serving, but I recommend that something happens, just like when you get arrested and you hire an attorney, it's the same thing. Hire someone to represent you.
Yeah.
And so let that person work that claim for you, because when it comes to insurance claims, there are things that you say in reporting and that you're doing it just out of the nature of what you think you should be saying, that could be used against you, and that matters a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's just like getting your own attorney. You go to sign a contract and they say, don't worry, we had a lawyer look over it.
Right.
You're going to want your own lawyer to look over it.
Correct.
So yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And there are attorneys who focus just on this.
Right.
There are attorneys who do property damage. I'm certainly not an attorney and I can't go to court for you.
Right.
But I would recommend to folks, you start with an adjuster, with a public adjuster. And then if you need to hire an attorney afterwards because you're going to court and you're in an impasse and the insurance company doesn't want to budge, at that point you hire an attorney, because obviously I can't go to represent you in court, and you need the big guns. But you don't need a big gun at the beginning.
So let me ask you, so you've had all this experience working for insurance companies in the past.
Yes.
How does that experience now help your clients and give them an edge? What do you bring to the table because of that experience?
Okay. I'll do it by example. I have a client, right? I'll leave her name out of it. But she was referred to me. Say, hey, listen, I have a loss here. And I called my insurance company, and so-and-so referred you, and they told me you did a good job for them. And I said, okay, awesome. I'll pass by your home. And I looked at what was going on. She had a leak. She had some water damage to her baseboards. It stretched out from her kitchen to a hallway into a bedroom. And it looked like it'd been bubbling, not bubbling, but it looked like what the insurance company would say, a long-term type of deal, right? And when I saw what was going on, I said, I told her, this is what they're going to do to you, okay? They're going to come and they're going to tell you, and then they're going to say, hey, listen, this is long-term damage, and they're going to deny it.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I'm not sure. I said, normally, this is the kind of policy that has what's called like a $10,000 cap limit, which means the insurance company says, hey, listen, if you have a loss that involves a plumbing failure, we'll pay you up to $10,000 no matter how much it is, right? Which is crazy, because you can't find me a kitchen that costs $10,000 and forget about it.
Right.
but it's, a lot of policies are like that. And sure enough, when she said, because of that, normally, I can charge up to 20% on a claim. That's how I work. If I get you nothing, I make nothing. If I get you something, I'll take 20% of what I bring you. So I told her, listen, this is what's going to happen to you. They're going to deny you for X, Y, Z, and they're going to say that it's long term and yada yada. She goes, well, I said, you have a cap on your policy. When you have a cap, when there's a $10,000 cap, I won't take 20% out of you. I figure all you're going to get is 10. I'll take 10% from you. 10%, I'll take 1, and I'll give you 9. Right. I think that's fair. That works for me. That takes care of the client. And even though I'm making less money on that claim, she's happier, and she's more likely to refer me a customer down the line because I've helped her out. Yeah. I've taken a pay cut to help her because she has a limited coverage. Anyway, so she says, well, that sounds good, but I'm going to let them pay me. I said, I'll tell you what. If I'm wrong, I'll charge you 9%. She goes, shake on it. Ah! And I said, here you go. And I said, I'll see you later.
Okay.
And I didn't sign her. I said, here's all my information. Let me know. Okay. I left. Sure enough, about 2-3 weeks later, Felix, they did exactly what you said. I said, of course they did. Yeah. Okay. So I said, no problem. But what was important, when I met her, I often interview my clients. I really, because I'm coming, I like to say that I put on my insurance hat. Yeah. Right? And I look for things that I would use against you in order to knock out your claim. So I started asking her all kind of questions. Well, when I said, well, when did you discover it? What did you do? Well, when I saw what was going on, I called my AC guy, and my AC guy came and he flushed the toilet. He flushed my AC, and he said it was coming from there. But then it kept happening. I said, okay, and what did you do next? And she said, well, then I called my plumber. And my plumber started opening up walls, and he couldn't find anything.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. And I said, and how long between the AC guy and the plumbing guy? She's like, oh, it's like 2 days later. I said, okay. I said, what did you do next? She was like, well, he couldn't find anything. He was looking around, and the insurance company guys came, and he said, and he looked at my baseboards, and he said, this looks like it's been going on for a while. And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, what else did you do? Well, I called my AC guy, and long and behold, the plumber found that there was a hose behind the refrigerator that had been leaking. When they moved the refrigerator, sure enough, you could see where it was coming out, right? And I said, okay, awesome. And I took pictures of all that, and I wrote my estimate, and I sent it to the insurance company. I said, you owe my clients money. Yeah. They said, no, this has been going on for a long time. This is clearly long. I said, well, if you'd like, we can go to mediation, Right. And, we can discuss it there, because I don't like to go to litigation right away.
Right.
Because litigation takes forever.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Mediation's a much better option, yeah.
So when you're in an impasse with an insurance company, you have the right to do 3 things. You can go to mediation, which is non-binding, right? It's just, hey, listen, can we work this out? If that doesn't work, you can go to what's called appraisal, where you, the homeowner, has to pay for an appraiser, and the insurance company has to pay for an appraiser, and those 2 people come and meet. And if those 2 are in impasse, then you both have to pay the cost of what's called an umpire.
Oh my gosh.
And if that doesn't work, you can still you can hire the big gun and go to an attorney and say, I'm going to sue you.
Yeah.
Okay. So this all takes time.
Of course.
So, but I already knew what was going to happen. So I said, we'll go to mediation. At a mediation, the adjuster's on the other side, and he's making a good case. I say, listen, that baseboard looks like it's been going on, and yada yada yada, and it is, and the one thing that I brought up is that, well, number one, when it comes to the insurance world, unless you were there when something happened, you can't say how long it's been going on. Right. You can say it's consistent with something, but you can't unless you saw it come out. So unless you saw the water come out, right, you can't testify. Right. So I said, well, that sounds good. Your argument sounds real good. And then they send you a letter. They always send you a letter quoting in the policy why their decision is correct. I said, good. That's awesome. I used to do the same thing. Then I said, I see that in your letter, you're saying that this is long-term. And that sounds very good. However, in your policy, if you just read a little bit forward, it says, If the cause of loss is hidden from the homeowner,
Okay. And it was behind the fridge.
behind the fridge, what matters, what takes precedent then, is not that it was going on, but it was what she did immediately as soon as she found out. And immediately as soon as she found out, she called her insurance company, and I had the invoice for the AC guy and the first invoice and it was days after that, and literally bam, 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 bam. After that, I said, now this is all laid out here. I'll take my $10,000 because this loss is far. And they said, all right, we're going to settle it with a release. I said, good.
All right, good.
So
that is exactly it. That is where your experience comes in and how it helps your clients. That's perfect.
On the insurance side, we have to know the policy.
Right, of course.
We have to read through it because when you're as an insurance adjuster, I remember the first time when I started as an insurance adjuster, I was an independent, which means that I wasn't an employee. I was working for a firm that had a contract with different carriers, right? And the carrier would give them claims, and you handle it and you kick it back and so on and so forth.
Right.
But when you first got hired, the first thing you got was a package, a PDF folder with a bunch of denial letters and the reasons why you should deny. And it has been saying that that's part of, and it's not, again, it's nothing nefarious, but when you've been in insurance for so long, these things are repetitive.
Yeah.
And you become a little bit biased. You become a little bit
and you know what to look for. You see what their excuse is, and you say, "Oh, I bet there's something in that policy that says otherwise."
Well,
so you know what to look for.
Yeah, I've written this letter a bunch of times. I'm just changing the names and the policy numbers and the dates, but it applies. So I'm there to look for something, and that's all good. But I'm not an attorney.
Right.
But an attorney will tell you, well, there's always an argument.
Right.
But there's always a counter argument.
Yeah.
And the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And unless you're there when something happens in any claim, I don't care if it's a roof or a kitchen or a bathroom, it doesn't matter. Unless you're sure of what happened and you were there, you witnessed it, or you got proof or something, everything is not finite. It is consistent with. And I use that phrase a lot, even when I argue with my wife.
You better not.
I lose regardless. I lose regardless because a man who's been married for a long time knows that he is not the boss.
There you go.
But there's truth in that, is that because I've been deposed so many times, I've done over.
You learn the lingo. You learn what you can and can't say.
Correct.
Of course.
Correct.
And you have to learn
Correct.
the legal language also. Yeah.
Correct.
I want to start to get into a little bit more of your business mind. I was going to say your business journey, and I had cards here, but I'm putting them aside because we started talking a little bit before we started filming, and I thought that some of the stuff you were telling me was just really, really good stuff, and the sort of thing that we want on the podcast. So you have been doing this for about 18 months on your own now, right?
Yes.
So you have 10 years of experience, but this is your company for about a year and a half now. And we were talking last night, you and I, on the phone about some of the struggles that new business owners go through. Not struggles, but I would say challenges, right? So there's time management that you have to worry about. And there's, do I take the time away from going out and getting clients to work on my website, or do I take a little bit of money and have somebody work on my website for me, but I'm really kind of watching money, but maybe it'll bring in more clients, and you have to make those decisions and go back and forth. And so we were talking a little bit about that, and just start sort of tell me like some of the things that you have experienced, and some of the maybe some of the good advice you've gotten in your first year and a half of being a new business owner.
Okay. So. Well, actually, I'm going to bring it back to because I left the insurance world about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So when I left, right, I started working for a public adjusting company, right? Mm-hmm. And like realtors, our license has to be tied into a company, right? Right. So, and I had no interest in starting my own business. because I didn't want to deal with, the office and staff and paperwork and all that.
Yeah.
I said, you know what, I'm gonna just work for somebody else. As it turns out, because I worked, I brought this up to you yesterday, as an insurance adjuster, I would do anywhere between 12 and 15 claims a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about inspections, reports, estimates. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You work.
Yeah.
So as a public adjuster, one claim a week is a beautiful year for me because the margins of profit is so much better as a public adjuster. So, and needless to say, on your first year, you're not getting a claim a week. It's just unless you got a hurricane or something like that.
Right.
But you're a new person. Nobody knows you. Nobody trusts you. Nobody. So in that, the gentleman that I was with, he told me from the very beginning, listen, Felix, when it comes to public adjusting, you're getting the clients. So it's all about your network. Go, I'm a part of the chamber. Go join a leads group and meet people. Yeah. And let them grow your relationship with people, and eventually they're gonna start remembering you when they run into something or somebody they know is running into something, and they're gonna start referring you work. That is number one. Yeah. And I got to tell you, that's literally the best advice that I've gotten. Now that I'm on my own, about a year and a half into working for that guy, for that company, great guy, great company. I just, because I never use the office, just to maybe, hey man, sign this check and send it out. Right. I'm very good at managing my own workflow because, again, the volume is a lot less. Right. So I found that financially, I was just giving money away. Right. So I said, you know what, I'll take the hit. I'll start my own company, and I'll just start with that. Yeah. In this business, I'm going to say in any business really, it's not so much the shirt that you're wearing or the name on your shirt and how pretty it is. It's about the person. Yes. It's about the person. So you're going to give me work, not because I'm wearing a certain shirt and a certain color, but because of the conversation that I have with you, and because I've gained your confidence. Yeah. And you're in confidence in believing that I have some kind of ability that may benefit you in your situation. Right. So the colors and names of the company are irrelevant. Yeah. Which is crazy to say that, but no, it's true. It's true. And it's all about networking, and thank God for the chamber, right? Because I fell into this chamber. I just happened to say, let me join a chamber, see what happens. Oh my gosh, best thing I ever did. It's so crazy because it is about building those relationships and getting to know people and having people get to know you. Mm-hmm. It's, know, like, and trust is the secret recipe, right? 100%. So once people, get to know you, like you, and trust you, then you'll start to get the business. And that's one of the things that I struggled with when I first started, also because, and people don't believe me when I say this, because I do tend to, once I get comfortable, I tend to talk. I'm pretty bubbly. I'm a little gregarious. I couldn't stand networking. I couldn't stand it. I went to my first networking event and I walked in and I went, oh, all these people already know each other. Yes. I'm like, all these people already know each other. I can't just go up and talk to people. That's crazy. They're gonna think I'm weird. Well, you're the new kid in school. And it feels like you're just being rude. It feels like you're just walking up and interrupting people's conversations. But that's what networking is. You walk up, you interrupt people's conversations, you give them a business card, and you get to know them. But after a while, and especially at the chamber, you sort of see the same people over and over again, and you might think that might be to your detriment. Oh, I don't want to just network with the same people all the time. But it does help to build those relationships and have people to start to get to know you and understand you and like you and trust you. It's one of the best things I ever did. I couldn't agree with you more. And as a member of the Miramar, Pembroke Pines, and Weston Chamber of Commerce, I've met some of the nicest people. In my wonderful people. I lead the Weston leaders at this point of the Western Chamber of Commerce. Uh-huh. That's a leads group. Yes. And every time I invite people over, I invite a new person because you're always looking for it. It's a leads group, so you can only have one person per trade. So when I meet a new plumber or a new electrician, I go, oh man, you got to come and check us out.
Yeah.
And mainly because, and I tell them, come and check us out because you're going to meet a bunch of people that we're clearly there to network and clearly there to,
Right.
But above and beyond, we really know and like and trust one another. I could throw a barbecue in my house and invite everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I truly, and here's the coolest part. I remember as an employee for insurance companies, right? I would meet people. You know how you always know somebody who knows somebody.
Right.
I got a problem with my transmission. I got a transmission guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? My knee. I got a good knee doctor.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that those people are super cool. And I've always wanted to be one of those people who are like, yeah, I know somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And after 3 years now of networking, I can happily say, I got a guy or I got a girl for a bunch of things.
Yeah. And that's like for me, for my business, that's key because I'm a management consultant and I help people with their management and their operations. So I have to know somebody. I have to know somebody who can, put together some digital media for you. And I happen to know somebody. And I have to know somebody who can do bookkeeping, and I have to know somebody who can do the HR end, and I have to know somebody who can do software. And I know all those people now because of the best leads group in Weston happens to be the Weston Innovative Networking.
She might be a little biased.
I'm sorry. I had to do it. No, but but I agree with you. Like joining that leads group has to be first joining the chamber was amazing, but joining that leads group was the best. I mean, those people are my family. Those people are my family. I love them so much, and I've gotten such wonderful advice. And you know what? They don't. I'm in my first year as well. They will not let me give up, no matter how much I beg. They will not let me stop. They won't let me give up. They give me wonderful advice. And this podcast idea came from that group. So it was great.
As it turns out, even the successful people that when you come into these groups or to the chamber, you meet somebody, you clearly see somebody that is at a level of success and you're like, man, I want to be there. It turns out, they're struggling through the same stuff that you're struggling with.
Thank you. Exactly.
So
exactly.
They have insight. They have, hey, why don't you try this? Or just, or you say something and they'll hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Heck, I'm going through that right now. So in my Western Leaders Group at the beginning of June, I said, hey man, I want everybody to give me 3 things they want to do this month.
Yeah.
3 things.
Yeah.
And then I had everybody pick somebody else, and that other person's going to hold you accountable, And I picked the person who's holding me accountable. I don't know if you ever met him, Edwin Quijada. He's his company's called Felix Coaching Group. So
yes, I know him.
I want to say he's a life coach, but he's not. He's so much more than that.
Yeah.
You talk to that guy, and he's like a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
He's so much. He just gives you so much.
He gives you so much energy. It's wonderful.
Completely. Yeah. But one thing is that he does that I love is that whenever I've had conversations with Edwin and I tell him, hey, listen, I want to do this, but I haven't done it, he'll just cut through the chase. Well, why? Who's stopping you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so he's the guy that I'm like, no, I want you to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
So now I'm in the time crunch, and today is the 17th, and we're halfway through June, and I was 10 days in an awesome vacation. So when I come back, and it's Father's Day this weekend that just passed.
Yeah.
So I've lost 2 weeks. Now I got 2 weeks to hit 3 goals. I've already hit 1.
Yeah.
But I know he'll hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And
so you better do it.
So I gotta do it. And this was good about being in groups and networking, that you have people who are already established and successful that'll hold you to things that are going to ultimately make you grow.
Yeah.
And chamber and everything that I'm doing there is so much that it's priceless to me.
100%.
And then you learn other stuff. My wife she's a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
She's an accountant. She's far more than an accountant. She's a rock star.
Yeah.
She's partner in her firm, and the one thing she always tells me, time value. And this, I'm saying this because I want to bring it back to what you asked me earlier,
Right.
because my mind goes places, and but the value of time, right? So I'm a graphic designer by trade. I got my bachelor's in graphic design, and that for many years, 12 years, I did graphic design, video production, all that good stuff. So I'm creative, and I'm particular. So I like my things done a certain way.
Yeah.
As a business owner, however, whenever I let that nature in me take hold, I have to remind myself. I hear my wife all the time back here. Go like, whoa, listen, you're spending too much time on this.
Yes.
And I have to then weigh, hey, listen, is this site, that important?
Yeah.
Or should I say, or is my time building this site more important than getting clients?
Right.
Because you got to bring people in.
Right.
We're in
Exactly.
business. You got to pay some bills. So time management, I would say, is the, after networking to grow. Even time management goes before that, because you can't just network all day long. You have to prospect and all that.
Yeah. But I always say like good leaders know when to delegate also.
Absolutely.
Right. So like you have to say, okay, so my website, if it's better, it might bring me in more clients, but I don't have time to work on it because I want to bring in clients. I want to go out and network. Maybe I need to delegate this to somebody else who knows what they're doing. It can be a hard decision, especially in your first couple of years when you're trying to balance your budget and your time and your all of that. But yeah, we all go through it, right? We all go through it. And that's one of the things I like about the leads groups is you've got a bunch of people there that you can bounce ideas off of. You can have somebody there, especially for me, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I don't have a partner. I'm not married. I just do everything on my own, and I make all the decisions on my own. And that's hard. That's a lot of pressure. So when I have this group of people who I know love me, and I've gotten to know them and they've gotten to know me and my business, and I can go to them and say, hey, I need to talk this through. I need to bounce this off of some people. They're wonderful, and they'll, I actually went to them. I did my 10-minute presentation one time and said, I just need ideas. Here's my struggle. I need ideas. And we just had a little brainstorming session. Of course, it goes really fast, but yeah, it's a wonderful thing to have. But so you were saying to me before we started recording, we were talking about social media, the importance of social media, and how I was telling you how hard it was for me, because I do not feel, despite the fact that we're doing a podcast right now, I do not feel comfortable making social media videos. I can do it now here because I'm in a professional studio. I don't have to think about where the camera is or what looks like what or anything like that. I can just sit here and talk, and it feels very natural. But when I made my first video on my social media for my business, it took me days because I was not happy with it. I kept redoing it. Days it took me. But you had some really great advice, and I wanted you to share that again for the listeners to the podcast.
Okay. So again, I come from the creative side, right? I've done video productions.
Yes.
This is all super cool.
Isn't it great?
I love your studio. If I could adjust claims like this, I would do it. But one thing that I found out that I saw many years ago, I was telling you that I started a YouTube channel, and I was doing great, and then life happens, and then I stopped.
Right.
But one thing that I know to be true is that we're in exciting times, where in the past you had 5 guys in one network saying, "I bless you with a show."
Right.
Nowadays, again, I like to use this term. If you're into underwater basket weaving,
right,
and you really love that, just put it out there and just be genuine to what you like.
Right.
And you will find people like-minded.
Yeah. You can be the underwater basket weaver star of the decade because of social media.
What's important in social media is that you are genuine to what you are and what you're trying to do. So for example, you and this, I know you're telling me I don't like to look at myself and I don't like to look at myself either.
Yeah.
But above that, I would say you clearly are inquisitive.
Yes.
You're bubbly, you're talking, all that good stuff. And let that be part of your business.
Yeah.
Because people need to know, like, and respect you, right?
Right.
So I am not polished at all. I am about as down to earth as but you talk to me for 10 minutes and you're going to see that that I'm coming from a good place and that I really want to help you. And if I can help you, I'm certainly not going to take advantage of you.
And people don't necessarily want polish, because when you're down to earth and when you're genuine and when you are like you are, you just make people very comfortable.
Well,
you know what I mean?
In your social media,
so
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I would say we all have to have a social media, and I am guilty of not having the time to publish more stuff, even though I can produce, edit, and graphic, and do everything.
It's hard. It's hard. I can sit there and fool around with something, and it'll take me an hour to post a 30-second thing. It's crazy.
I am particular. I will sit there and be like, no, I want this section. As a business owner, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then that's when, again, I hear my wife and go like, oh, hey, time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me snap out of my zone. And then, again, I have to then think about, okay, I need to find someone who can deliver what I need. Mm-hmm. Hey, these are my parameters, and deliver it for me, because it's worth, my time is better spent paying you to do it than letting my own OCD get it to exactly how I want it.
And a lot of people who are business owners are overachievers and perfectionists, and they're business owners and they're running their own business because they want to do things their way, because they know that their way is the best way, because nobody else can do it quite like them, because we're overachievers. It's just, we are. But there's also, you have to sit there and say, okay, where is my perfection really needed in my business? It's wherever my client work is, right? So like, if you're doing work for your client, that's where your perfectionism needs to be, right?
Yes.
And not necessarily in the other stuff.
I try to really help people. And I know we all do that. We all help someone in some capacity.
Right.
But for example, I got a client. He's from out of town. He got hit with storms. He got hit twice last year with the storms in the West Coast. And he's out of town, and he was just referred to me by someone who was referred to me.
Right.
Okay. And he trusted me. Mm-hmm. And I could have probably picked up more clients last year, and I wanted to, but you get that there comes a point where you say, okay, well, I've been here for a couple of weeks, got a batch of people that I need to help. I need to focus on this.
Right.
And because if you get enough work, then that guy that you said, hey, I'm going to do right by you, now you got 12 people you're taking care of. So maybe you're not doing right by him.
Yeah.
So finish the work.
Yes.
And come correct with that person. And we all, as business owners, I'm guilty of it too. We all struggle to try to hit that mark with everyone. And sometimes you do better than others. Uh-huh. But that's huge because if you're in the referral business, you don't want to shortchange someone because you're gobbling up new work too.
Of course.
So that's a balance you got to deal with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and close out the segment with a question that I like to ask everybody. What piece of advice or encouragement or guidance or warning or whatever would you want to leave with somebody who is maybe thinking about starting a business, or maybe in their first years and going through some struggles? What message would you have for those people?
Well, I'm going to say, when you're concocting your plan to create a business, okay, do your homework. Do your homework. And when you see the vision of, because we all see something that we're going to go, that we're going to go for, okay? Do your homework so that you know that you've answered all the questions. And never, ever, ever allow someone else's lack of vision interfere with where you're going. It is something that, because people don't know what you know.
Yeah.
So they're going to start, well, listen, are you going to do this? Maybe this other job and that's a really hard thing to combat.
Especially, like I was saying, if you're doing it on your own, the way I'm doing it.
Oh my God.
And you don't have anybody who's in the trenches with you. You just got a lot of people looking in the trenches going, geez, I don't know.
and listen, and there are times where those people are going to seem right, particularly at the beginning.
Yes.
At the beginning.
Yes.
When, because you don't open up a store and, hey, we're doing great.
Yeah.
No, it is a grind. It is a hustle.
You can be selling bricks of gold for $10,
God.
but if nobody knows you've got them, you're not going to make any business. Exactly. It's you got to do it. You got to get out there and do the thing.
So stick to your vision. Just do your homework, because you need to have that information in you to hold you down when the world is making a lot of sense by telling you, maybe you should do something else.
Maybe you should quit.
Maybe you
should get a job.
Every single person you ask, every single successful person, and they'll tell you that at the beginning, people were like, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just keep going,
and
just figure out how you're going to overcome those challenges. That's number one. Number two, make sure, and this again is my wife talking to me. Make sure that you really allocate your time, that you're using your time wisely, and in doing so. You might have to put your own ego in check, because we all think we can do it. We're business owners.
Of course.
I can do it. Of course I can do it. I'm just going to go for it.
Overachievers.
Yes, no.
We're used to just doing it.
Or not even overachievers, just someone saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do it.
Right.
Make sure that you can put that ego aside to be able to say, I know I can do it, but my time is better worth paying someone to do it. And it seems like I'm spending money, but I'm going to but I make more money getting more clients.
Yes.
So manage your time wisely, and don't procrastinate. Don't forget to do the little things in your day-to-day business. Don't forget to do the little things, because you can easily get overwhelmed, and all of a sudden you're clogged up with, oh my God, I didn't send these emails. While you should be talking to your client.
Yeah.
Or handling something about your client.
Yeah. You want all that clutter out of your mind.
Never, ever, ever overpromise. Never overpromise. Don't ever take a client because you see dollar signs.
Yeah.
We come from a good place. I'm big on that. I will help you in your claim because I believe that I can help you.
Right.
Whatever I make on it is irrelevant.
Right.
I want to help you first.
Yeah.
What I make on it is, hey, however do we do good, because we're both going to do well.
Right.
I do well when I do well for my client. So that'll come. Make sure that you, before you, for example, in my case, in my business, I don't just take all the claims that come at me. No, I go and I vet the work and I see, is this legitimate? Is this something this person can fight for? Is this something worth doing? Right. Sometimes there's a claim that is completely, you can do it, but I tell folks, listen, if an insurance claim doesn't help you, don't do it just to gain something, because now you've got a claim in your record and that'll be used against you down the line.
Right.
So not everything is worth it.
Right.
So vet your client, vet your work, and make sure that what you're doing for your client is in their best interest.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to shine.
Yes.
Because they're going to remember you. They're going to say, Felix took care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I want. Felix took care of me. And then when they're in a position, whether it be them again or their family members or their friend, the neighbor, whatever, they're in a position where they're going to
remember you.
They're going to say, I got a guy.
Yeah.
And you're that guy.
Yeah.
Gal, guy, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you stick to those and, obviously you got to advertise and do the things, the operational.
Right.
And if you're not good at operational, hire an operations person.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. If you're not good at video production, hire a video production guy.
Exactly.
Hire a web.
Exactly.
I can build a beautiful website if you give me enough time.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time for that.
Right.
And these videos,
you got to think about the return on the investment,
Absolutely.
And you're going to get the return on the investment.
Yes.
So yeah.
You're a business owner at this time. You're not a graphic designer. You're not a web guy. You're not a multimedia guy.
Yeah.
You are a business owner. You got to keep your eye on the overall picture.
Exactly.
And that's hard to do, particularly when you're sure you can do one particular thing.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you so much, Felix. That was excellent advice. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was really a pleasure. I am so happy you came on. I'm excited for this episode to come out. I think it's going to be great.
I can't wait to see it. I think this is awesome. I love all the cameras. I'm not looking at the cameras. But it is, I thank you for having me. This is truly a cool experience for me. My first podcast.
I can't believe that. You need to do more because this was great.
Well, here's the thing. Normally, if I would have thought about a podcast, I'd think that I'm the one asking the questions.
Yeah.
Because I'm the talker.
You should have one.
No, I got too much work. Time value.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Welcome to Things I Can't Say at Work. This is the part of the podcast where I answer questions that deal with those sticky situations that managers and business owners deal with day to day with their employees. If you have a question that you want to submit, don't worry. I can keep your name out of it. I can keep it anonymous because I understand that these situations are sticky. So the question today is, there's tension between two employees. Everyone feels it, nobody talks about it, and now it's affecting the whole team. I keep telling myself that they're adults and they'll work it out, but it's been months. At what point do I step in, and how do I not make it worse? This is a tricky situation, and you have to handle it with some care and finesse. You did ask, when should you step in? And the answer is now. Don't wait. You need to take care of this immediately. As you said, it's not just their problem. It is affecting the whole team. Even if your team hasn't said anything to you, they notice. They feel the tension. It's making an unpleasant work environment for everybody. So you need to step in and do something. So the way to do it, okay, that's where you have to be very careful. You don't take sides. You have to make sure what you're doing is you're creating a space for respectful conversation, okay? What you want to do is you want to start by taking each individual and having a conversation with them by themselves. Start the conversations with open-ended questions. Is there something going on between you and employee A? How do you think your work relationship is with you and employee A? Is there anything that you think is hindering the way you work with employee A? Okay. Then once you've had those conversations with each employee, you take that context and then you have to bring them together for a conversation. You are the leader here. You need to make sure that you make it clear that this conversation between these two employees and yourself is going to be solution-based, okay? You've got to make sure that you are focusing on behavior and impact, not on emotions and not on blame, okay? If it starts to go that way, you need to either take a break, give everybody a moment, but make sure if it starts to go to blame, make sure you steer it back to solutions, okay? Make sure you steer it back to impact. Here is why this is a problem. It is impacting everybody around us. Here is why we need a solution. We need you two to work together. And then once you have that conversation, make sure that you let them know that you're going to follow up with them. And you're going to follow up and make sure that they are working together in a way and going forward in a way that you discussed and in a way that you decided during that conversation is going to be best for everyone involved. So I hope that helps. And if you have a question, you can submit it to Kimberly@kvcanhelp.com and I will read it and answer it here on the podcast. And don't worry, if you want to remain anonymous, I will do that for you. I will see you next time.